Gentlemen, today we are talking about bulking. So, if you've ever tried to gain weight in the gym, or if you've ever uttered the words, I'm trying to gain weight, if you're one of those guys, like I was for a very long time, this video is for you. Today we are going to be talking about how to cure chronic to mild smallness. And this is especially for those in the gym. And specifically, we're going to be talking about a few different things. Today, we're going to be talking about the bulking basics. We're going to be talking about how to know when to bulk. I'm going to quickly show you my results, my credentials for bulking. I'm going to go over some macros one-on-one. Then I'm going to go over food selection, foods that you want to eat during your bulk. And then I'm going to talk about training on a bulk and just a little challenge. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to give you a challenge that's going to help you gain your first few pounds and get this bulk rolling. So without further ado, let's just get rolling right into it. The professor is here and class is in session, so take notes. When should I bulk? Okay, so here's the thing. When should you bulk? I think bulking is a good idea for beginner lifters with a few caveats. All right, so we're going to talk about a few things. Are you a thin gentleman? Are you kind of on the skinnier side, but you're not like really muscular, like you're kind of lean, but not really muscular? Bulking's probably for you. Are you a kind of one of the skinny fat types, right? Kind of know what I'm talking about there, a little bit more in the belly region, kind of smaller arms. Bulking is probably not for you yet. I would, in that situation, I would just go on like a cut for a month or two and get down to the point of visible abs. Right? When all else fails, there's like caveats to everything, and obviously it depends on what you want to do and what your personal goals are. A general rule of thumb that you can use is if you can see your abs, then you're okay. You have my green light to start pushing the calories. If you cannot see your abs, you probably shouldn't bulk just yet. Probably go on a little cut first, cut a little bit of that fat off, get lean, and then start pushing it. Thing is, when you bulk, like when you add a lot of mass while you're actually lifting, it's going to distribute differently than just straight to your gut. Okay, so it's not going to come back on the same. So, real quick, what is a bulk? Right, so it is the basic act of adding calories, and the goal is that we're trying to maximize muscle tissue, maximize new muscle tissue, while minimizing fat conversion. Okay, so we get in a basic surplus. There's a few different ways you can do it. You can go the clean route. You can go the dirty route. I did the dirty bulk route in the past. It was awesome. And right now, currently, I'm doing the clean bulk route. I'm about 6 weeks in. Not as stoked about it, if I'm being perfectly honest, but it is what it is. I can go into that in a little bit. Consistency is huge, especially with dieting in general, but especially bulking. You need to be consistent. It needs to be something you're doing every day. You cannot just bulk on weekdays. It's not going to happen. I like to say I have like a 5-day, I call it a rule. It's not really a rule, but from what I've seen and from what I've experienced, you got to stay in that calorie surplus for like at least 5 days before you start feeling the effects of it. And then, once you're in it for 5 days, you start rolling, we're starting to gain some mass. So my basic strategy for bulking is just like real quick basic strategies. There's a few different ways you can do it. Obviously, there's many ways. What my goal is for my dirty bulk was 4 meals a day, 1,000 calories each. And it was just really get the calories any way possible. Super high fats, processed food, ice cream, milk, dairy, and milk tears me up. But it gets the job done. So, lots of sugar, lots of processed everything. So that's kind of basic dirty bulkage. My clean bulk is a lot differently. It's a lot of chicken breast and rice, tortillas, honey, rice cakes, just really kind of basic foods, a lot more, ground beef, really just clean ingredients, not as much processed garbage, and much, much lower fats than I was doing previously. Training routine, is going to differ, but you can really start pushing the weight and be intentional about adding extra weight every week. And there's a good chance you're going to feel a little lethargic, a little sleepy, and own it, right? That means you're growing. So don't fight the sleep, okay? Take a 20-minute snoozer in the day if you can. So that's just what it is. My results. So this is showing from 2022 to 20. Oh, hold on. I'm going to go extra small, okay? 2022 to 2025, I went from total. I didn't. This was just the date of this picture. I didn't start bulking right after here. I really started bulking like in the beginning of 2024. Really, so it was like a 10-ish, 11-ish month bulk, and it got me up to 235 sweet pounds. Turned me into an absolute unit. And I had never bulked before in my life. I had never been more. 185 was the heaviest I'd ever been in my whole life before this. Bulked up to 235 of meat, and then cut back down. It took 100 days to cut down to Shred City, and this is where we're sitting right now. So, excuse me. So, got abs again. I'm currently sitting at about 197 pounds. So for me, if you're a thinner guy, cutting the fat is easy. It's the adding mass, which is really the challenging part. So there's a lot of science-based propaganda going around on Instagram talking about, is bulking a scam? Bulking is not a scam. Bulking is literally how you add more mass. And the thing is, I've said this many times, you cannot, and I fell into this trap for years. You cannot main gain yourself into being huge. It does not work. You just think about it. If you're pushing yourself to your absolute maximum limit and you're eating your maintenance calories, how are those maintenance calories going to allow you to keep existing and then also add more mass to your body on top of that? It doesn't make sense. So don't listen to the science-based propaganda on Instagram. Bulking is not a scam. Bulking is Antarctica. Okay, it's a little scary, especially for me, and I'm sure for you too, guys I talk to in the gym all the time. If you're a thinner guy, you don't want to get fat, right? You just don't want to be fat because that sucks, and you feel like crap when you're fat. The thing is, if you want to do a bulk and you want to add some muscle, and you want to get bigger, you are going to have to exist in the fatness for a little bit of time. The thing you just got to keep thinking about is, don't think about where you are in that exact moment. You got to be okay with putting on a few extra pounds just for a little bit. The thing, if you're a naturally leaner guy, pretty much no matter what happens, you're always going to be like 60-ish days from being lean and seeing your abs again. So just think about that. Just don't worry. It's going to be okay. Deal with the fat for a little bit and party on. Okay? So I'm just going to cover macros a little bit. Okay? This is going to help you if you're kind of newer to macros. This is going to help you get into it and get you to start, building up your diet. And the thing is about dieting, it's not something that you suddenly, like one day you don't track anything and then the next day you have perfect macros and you track everything. This is just something that you just add over time, right? It's just a little more skills that you keep building over time, and every year just try to get a little bit better than you were the year before. So just kind of on the basics, you have your proteins, right? And your proteins are going to be the basis of your diet. They're broken down by your body into amino acids, and those amino acids are used for rebuilding and repairing muscle tissue, among other things. But again, we're just keeping it basic. Protein can be used as energy, but it's not your body's first choice for energy usage because it's kind of inefficient. But excess protein can be converted convert it into fat, but it's not very efficient, that process. And you got your protein, you have 4 calories in 1 gram. Then you got your fats. So your fats are going to be 9 calories per gram. They're obviously broken down into fatty acids. They're already a fatty acid, so it's very easy for your body to convert it directly into fat storage. Right? It doesn't really have to do any extra or much extra work. Can be used as a long-term energy reserve, and your body is going to pull on that fat during lower intensity work, and that's compared to carbohydrates, which are going to pull, your muscles are going to pull carbohydrates directly from your stored muscle glycogen during intense workouts. So your body breaks down carbs into glucose, and those glucose increase your blood sugar levels. It's your body's preferred energy source. Excess glucose that is not used for energy is then transferred into glycogen, and it can be pretty easily stored as fat. So not as easy as going extra on your fats, but going extra on your carbohydrates your body will be able to turn that into fat. So we're going to move on to the next one. Basic bulking macro structure. Okay, so tracking is very important. You can kind of do this one or two ways. You can use an app, like I use MyFitnessPal, and I've also used the method of basically doing it per meal, right? So I knew that I needed 4 meals, and I was going for 4,000 calories a day. So I was going to do 4 meals, and I just need to get to 1,000 calories at each meal. So I didn't necessarily need to track it day by day on an app. I just tracked it by meal, right? So those are each ways, and each way can work. I would suggest starting MyFitnessPal, because I had a guy talk to me in the gym today, and we had talked weeks ago, and he was like, man, I'm eating so much, but I'm not growing. And I was like, man, well, you're probably, are you tracking it? And he's like, no, I'm not tracking. I was like, well, you're probably not eating as much as you think you are. And so he didn't believe me. So he went and downloaded the app, and then he tracked one day, and he was like, man, Frank, you were right. I wasn't eating anywhere close to what I thought I was eating. And I was like, let me guess. When you tracked your whole day of calories, it was probably like 1,600. He's like a skinnier guy. Lean, but skinny. He was like, yeah, it was about 1,600. I was like, yeah. You look physically like you exist off of 1,600 calories a day. So it was pretty easy to guess. So I would suggest getting in the habit of tracking, so you at least know, like, what does 800 calories of food on your plate look like? I think it's good to start getting that. Once you start getting that habit of figuring it out, then it's a lot easier to eyeball it later. So basically where you want to start is when you're building out your diet and figuring out how many calories you want to run with. I would start with the 1 gram per pound of lean body weight. I've tried less than that, and to be honest, I just didn't feel that great. And when I moved up to right now I'm doing 1.2 grams per pound of lean body weight. So I try to get anywhere from 220 to 240 grams protein per day. I feel much better, and I think my performance is a lot better. Recovery is better. Everything just works a little better. I think composition is better as well. But I would try it, see what works for you. But 1 gram is a good way to start. So if you're a 170-pound guy, start with 170 grams of protein. Now we're starting to build out your diet. So how much do we have for fats, right? This was like something that I struggled with figuring out for a while. What's my fat supposed to be? Really, what you want to do is just try to keep, as long as you're getting good sources of protein, like you're eating ground beef or you're eating steak, chicken, things like that, those are going to have residual fats in them. Right, so like right now, my day-to-day, I probably have between 70 and 100 grams. Try to keep it less than that, but like around 70 grams of fats per day. And there's just going to be residuals from the other foods that you're eating. And in my opinion, at least from how I've been so far, I've existed this far in life, I'm doing pretty okay. I haven't found it necessary to purposely go in and add more fats. But if you wanted to, you could add in whatever, avocado, olive oil, but not necessarily, it's not my go-to. So I basically just try to keep my fats as low as I can with the residuals that I'm getting from my protein sources, eggs and stuff like that. So 70-ish, whatever. And then basically the carbs, whatever's left over on the diet, that's going to go carbs. I might turn up the protein a little bit, but have it turned up right now. But carbs is basically you're just going to fill in the gap. So if it's going to take 150 grams of carbohydrates to get to your daily calorie goal, cool. If it takes 400 grams, cool. But so now you have it set up so that when you want to switch over to your cut, you're already getting your correct amount of protein every day, and all you need to do is just change the carbohydrates, right? So you can take your same diet that you have with your bulk, and then once it's time to cut, just shave out pretty much, at least a good portion of the carbohydrates. You want to track it to make sure you're losing weight appropriately and not doing it too rapidly. So right now, my current, macros for about 3,000 calories, what I'm doing daily right now, is 220 on the protein, about 70 grams of fat, and about 378 grams of carbohydrates. All right, so bulking food selection. What kind of foods do I get on the bulk? I get that all the time. You guys ask me in the gym. And the thing is, if you're a younger guy and you're still living at home, best return on your investment, right? Write this one down. You're a younger guy. Best thing you can do to bulk up is go and buy your mom some flowers. Don't tell them they're from me. Tell them they're from you. And ask her really nicely to make you a whole thing of a bunch of spaghetti and leftover spaghetti. And it's going to be pretty solid. It'll get the job done. So bulking food selections, some good choices for proteins. Easy stuff. Chicken, steak, ground beef, turkey, and eggs. Easy stuff. Eggs, to be honest, don't have a ton of protein like I have the amounts right here. It's going to take about between 170 and 200 grams of meat to get 50 grams of protein, and that's kind of like the ballpark, 50 grams per meal, what I'm hitting right now. And to hit 50 grams of protein, you need 8 eggs. So I actually don't eat 8 eggs in the morning. I only do 6 in the morning, and I also add 80 grams of chicken, because I just have a huge thing of cooked chicken that I go through every day. Fats, again, you can get your fats from your meat residuals. If you want to go extra fast, if you want to add some in, you can go avocado, olive oil, peanut butter. When I was like hardcore dirty bulking, I had to go and take this job up in Iowa, and I was driving the whole day. And usually when you're traveling, it's like the worst day to try to get your meals in. But I was so committed to hitting this bulk and hitting my numbers, I stopped at the gas station and I bought a tub of peanut butter. Dude, I'm telling you, boys, I'm serious. On that drive up, I was just shoveling in peanut butter into my face the whole drive up. It was grotesque, but it worked. Got the job done. So this is a typical day of eating for me. It's very, very simple. You can see I have 4 meals in here. I have a breakfast, 2 lunches, and a dinner. Dinner is basically all the same. So dinner and 2 lunches, they're all the same. It's going to be 220 grams of chicken, about 100 grams of cottage cheese, a little buffalo sauce, and 3 large tortillas. So try to get like 400 to 500-ish grams of a carbohydrate source per meal. So, and that's all the same. I have some snacks in there, some rice cakes. There's some dried mangoes I might be getting. I might have some Greek yogurt, some blueberries and honey, stuff like that. And if you guys want, let me know down in the comments if there's enough people that want it. I can do a full day of eating video if you think it would be helpful. And I'm trying to help you. I want you to get huge. I want you to get jacked. So here's another question I hear a lot. How do I know if I'm eating enough? How do I know if I'm getting enough? Very simple. So here's what you do to get your bulk started. You pick a number. You pick a base number. I wouldn't go anything crazy off the rip. You kind of want to taper it up a little bit, but start with a base number on a calorie tracker. There's like a ton of them online. Just Google calorie tracker. Add 400 or 500 calories onto whatever it says your maintenance is, and then track your weight daily in the morning. So, and that's after you go to the bathroom, no clothes, track your weight every day. And then watch that weight over 2 weeks. If it's staying the same, add 200 calories, right? If it's slowly trending up and you only gained 1 pound, well, maybe that's the situation where you add 200 calories a day. If it's not moving at all, maybe you add 400 a day. But basically, you want to watch it over 2 weeks because you're going to get some daily fluctuations. Like that daily graph, it's going to jump up and down day by day, 3 to 4 pounds. Well, at least it does for me. So, at least 1 to 2 pound fluctuations. So just watch it over 2 weeks and see what it does. Don't make any drastic changes off of, one singular day. If one day you drop down a couple pounds, it's okay. Just stay the course, stay consistent. It could be water weight, it could be stress, it could be so many other things. Just keep going with it. And thing is, I have on here, don't be the trying to gain weight guy. And this was me. I cannot tell you how many times I said, bro, I'm just trying to gain weight, man. I'm really trying to gain weight right now. Bro, this is Star Wars, okay? I'm going to drop a little Yoda on you. There is no try, you do or you don't. Right? Do you do or you do not? Don't be the trying to gain weight guy. You got to start tracking. I promise. If you're eating enough, you'll get bigger. Okay. Training during a bulk. This was also something that I researched a bunch before I got into my bulk. How is my training going to change? Here's what I found during my bulk. You can be a lot more intentional about pushing the weights. I would say one of the things you can do is how you have your sets structured. I would structure your sets in a way so that each continual set of an exercise you're doing, you're adding a little bit of weight, right? Because let's say, just thinking of whatever numbers, normally you always do 140 pounds on the leg extension machine and you do it for 12 reps, right? Just whatever, throw numbers out there. If you do that same thing, and that's just how you always do 3 sets of 140, maybe you don't know that you could actually be doing 160 or 180 pounds, but you don't know. Or maybe you do it the other way where you start with a higher weight, but then you drop the weight down as you continue in sets. I would not do that because I think that is kind of moving you away from figuring out what your potential is. I think you'll be leaving some on the table, not really hitting your full potential there. So I would pyramid your weight up, be more intentional about pushing the weight, and your body is going to be able to handle a lot more low rep work. The recovery is wild, especially from dirty. There's a huge difference from what I can see in the recovery between just like nasty, dirty bulking and what I'm doing right now, clean bulking. I'm a lot more sore right now, trying to be like really exact everything on my bulk right now than when I was dirty bulking. When I was just being gross with the food, nothing would get me sore. It was just every week I added weight, and it was crazy. I felt like I could recover from literally anything because my body just had so much extra raw materials to just get things done. On this last bulk, the way I kind of did a lot of 3 sets per exercises, and I would pyramid up my weight in a way that I was at or close to failure. I would do 3 sets. I would do like a set that got me to 14, then like a set that got me to like 7 or 8, and then like a set that got me to 3, 4, or 5. And I felt like that was really helpful in figuring out what my ability is on that particular exercise. So now I'm doing something a little bit differently. I call it Sam Sulik's Strength Building Rule, or the SSSBR for short. And so that's basically just working with weights, staying between 8 and 12, and kind of continually working with the weight until you can get to 12 reps and then dropping, increasing the weight a little bit and trying to get back down to 8 and then using that same weight again to, keep working those reps up to get to 12. You get it. And how I did my routine, it's still the same way that I'm doing right now. So I do chest, legs, arms, and then back, and then I repeat. And I don't have any rest days scheduled in. I take them as I go. Like the other day, we had my kid's birthday party, and so, I didn't go to the gym that day, even though I wanted to. But I didn't go to the gym during his party because I thought that would be uncool. Probably put me in the doghouse for that one. So I still have a life, guys. All right, still have a life. But yeah, I do that because I really like going to the gym and I really like training and working out. So yeah, there's a lot of weeks that I go 7 days in a row. I like it. So I don't really want to stop. The thing is overtraining a myth? I don't know. I think it could be. There's obviously a lot of people that would disagree with that and say that overtraining is indeed a real thing. But you could say I take more of the Rich Piana approach to overtraining, which is that there's no such thing as overtraining. There's only undereating and undersleeping. So I will say that it is, if you're eating a lot of food, it is really, really, really hard to push your body to a point where you cannot recover from it. I think most people are not physically capable of doing that amount of work because they don't have the mind-muscle connection, right? If you're a 300-pound muscle giant like Dorian Yates, then yeah, you have the ability to push your body, right? If you're doing some Ronnie Coleman sets of 800 on the squats, yeah, you can probably overtrain. It's probably possible for you. But for the majority of people, I don't think they're physically strong enough to actually overtrain. So that's my opinion. Change my mind. Maybe you can. All right. Biggest thing is to stay consistent. Bulking is not a 3-week thing. And that's just like a random number that I made up completely arbitrarily. This is another one I hear in the gym. I hear a lot of dudes be like, oh, I'm going to bulk for a couple weeks or, I'm going to bulk for a month. I don't know what you're going to do in a month, right? So it's not, to me, I don't think that's enough to really move the needle. Like you got to really put some time into this. I think you have to spend time in that bigger stage before you start cutting everything off to give the muscle time to mature and just so you can still keep that mass on you. This is not something you do for like a couple months. You're just gonna you gotta rock it out for a little bit, man. You gotta let it rip, but it will be worth it in the end. It definitely was for me. Okay, so that's the last slide. What I have, here's my challenge for you. Okay, for you. If you want to gain some weight, here's my challenge. Do this. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go and download MyFitnessPal app, and then you're gonna track one meal. Just don't do anything different with the meal. I just want you to figure out how to track one meal. Again, this is not something, we're not trying to completely become macro geniuses overnight. We want to slowly build up this skill set. Okay, so just download the app and track one meal, and then go down in the comments, come back to this video and tell me how many calories was in the meal. That's it. And if you do that one time, I promise you, just that act of figuring it out and like, okay, this is how I do it. I need to get a scale or I need to use measuring cups or whatever. I'll definitely measure by weight, not by volume. Measuring by weight is much, much easier. But dude, get a $10. They're not even $10. I think I bought a food scale on Amazon for like $7 shipped to my house. It's cheap. It's cheap stuff. So track one meal, put it in the comments. Let me know how it goes. and get huge. That's all I got for you. So thank you for hanging out. I hope you learned something. And if there's anything else you want to know about, put it down in the comments. Hope to see you in the next one. Have a good night.